How confident are you that your students are future ready and are going to thrive in these unprecedented times when markets are full of disruption and ambiguity? Can students remain agile, innovative, and resilient in these tough times? It's a difficult question because it involves a whole spectrum of variables. It involves teacher skills, parenting, home environment, and most important of all, unique needs of every child. Despite all kinds of learning like blended learning, problem-solving learning, flipped classroom concept, personalized learning takes precedence because every child is special and you don't want to ignore any child. Now, on one hand, we know that education is a powerful tool with potential to transform entire societies. And on the other hand, I'm talking about personalized learning. How do we bridge this gap? How do we crack this? Join me as we discuss this with Mr. Subbaiah. He's the chairman of Lawrence School. Mr. Subbaiah, we are extremely delighted and excited to have you here with us for this discussion. But before we actually deep dive into this, would love our viewers to know a little bit more about you.
I am an Ethiopian by birth. I was born in Ethiopia, in Addis Ababa. I lived in Kenya for about 10 years. Totally spent about 15 years traveling through Africa and living in Africa, and then came back over here for my 11th standard in Bishop Cotton Boys School in Bangalore, and went on to Madras Christian College, where I finished my degree, after which I ended up as a farmer, basically a coffee grower. So the past 50 years I've been a coffee grower as well as an entrepreneur. And I've traveled a bit. I've traveled a bit in Europe. Usually in the coffee growing season, there's about 3 months of heavy rain. So I used to hitchhike through Europe, and I've traveled a bit through Africa and through Southeast Asia. And I've been some kind of an entrepreneur. I put up a couple of factories and a newspaper, a factory on agarbatti, perfumery, woodworking, and I had a printing press, and I started a newspaper in 1990 that's still functioning, Coffeeland News, that devolves a lot around coffee industry. And sometime around about in the 1990s, I had this opportunity to take over a school. My father was a teacher in Africa, and my father-in-law was a teacher and director of education here in Karnataka. So there was an inbuilt Indian interest in education and how we could make it better and how we could involve parents and create an ecosystem where children would learn to learn and enjoy learning. Most of the time I see children are forced to study things, vague concepts that they're not really interested about. And what he thought, we'll do something exciting so that children would like to learn and they would enjoy learning things, reading papers, reading books, reading different things, so that at the end of the day, you become a complete individual rather than
just somebody with good knowledge.
Exactly.
Awesome. That's great to hear. But tell me, a person like you who's so well-traveled, different parts of the globe, you've tried your hand to a different entrepreneurial stint. At what point of time you decided that education is your calling? Is it, or are you looking at something else?
I never thought education would become my calling. I thought that I would like to have a school as part of my portfolio of things in one of the things that I'd be doing. But it so happened that I shut down everything else. I'm still a coffee grower, and I'm a good coffee grower. I grow among the best coffee here in India. Education has now become a passion, something that you get deeply interested in. And as you go down the line, you find what you've done. You create individuals. You create an ecology where learning becomes something interesting, and you create an ecosystem where children come back to you later, and they're so proud of what they've done, and they're so proud of what the school has given them, and they don't want to leave the school. And there's so many cases where parents have been transferred. They literally cancel their transfer and remain here at their whatever grade they were in, because the children did not want to leave the school. And I think at the end of the day, that is a hugely rewarding result.
Awesome. Great. We spoke about how a teacher really creates an impact and can make individuals as worthy citizens and make them future ready. But a single teacher has a limitation and can probably look after 4-5 students at a given point of time and then can move in batches. When I'm talking about personalized learning at scale, having the right technology becomes imperative. I would like to have your views on this. How do we go about? Because education is a tool that can change the world for good. And if you have the right technology and you're in education, you can actually make that good at scale.
Definitely, Preeta. You can create a system where education can be scaled up. Personally, I think the teacher's influence is critical there in a class. But at the same time, education per se can be generalized to an extent where the classes can be broadcast, classes can reach the parents so the parents know what is being taught in the class so that they can also guide their children at home. Children who are not there in the class personally can catch up there at home. As well as we're moving into a digital age where what all said and done, irrespective of what we want to do or not want to do, we are moving into a digital age. And education, especially AI-centered education, will be able to take the best of what I know and maybe, like Google does right now, finds you ads that you are interested in. So in the same way, AI-enabled education will then begin to teach you or if you're not able to understand the concept, will delve deeper into the concept so that, or maybe explain other areas of the concept or in different terminology so that the child will be able to understand it better. Now, this kind of technology has to broadcast, has to be reach different people. And the pure scale of technology means that you can only do this if technology is enabled. Correct. You can't do this individual. Now, one good teacher cannot reach all the classes, cannot reach, she should be tired. But if she has the help of technology to be able to extend her class, and then
it's going to help the teacher to create an impact at scale.
Yeah, teacher makes a huge difference. And if you can take this technology and spread it, make sure that children on a scale are receptive to this kind of technology, the sky is the limit.
Awesome. That's great to hear. Would also like to understand from you, today in education work, what are the current challenges that you would like to, share with the larger group of viewers with us? What, as per you, are the challenges? While we talk about technology as an enabler, technology needs to empower everyone, and everything comes with a set of challenges. What are the challenges on top of your mind?
Challenges, I'd say, would be holding a child's attention, because a child is forever curious and a child is forever investigating. So you have to be abreast of what is happening. You have to be able to pull out questions. You have to be prepared for a class. You have to have done your homework far beyond the curriculum. You cannot do that. Also, you have to be able to gauge different children, because some children have a background of maybe technical background. Some children have a painting background and they have different interests. So you have to be able to balance what a child wants there in the class by altering your questions, altering your approach to the child. Some children are reluctant to do homework. So some children are, I would say, they're spending too much time on screen. They're too much addicted to screen time. So whether they're learning something on the screen or they're doing something else, gaming, all these are challenges that have to be faced. So it's a fine balance between screen time and book time and study time, which it's a challenge to be faced.
That's right. I think everything comes with its positives and negatives. And it's good that we know the challenges and we are better prepared to tackle them ahead of time. One quick question. What kind of student were you at your age, and what would have advised yourself back then?
Good God, that's a very, very dicey, very tricky question. Yeah.
And your students are watching you.
Oh my God. Yeah, I was an extremely curious, I was an extremely naughty, I was extremely active. But I think even right now, I think I'm that way. But my parents also encouraged me by having a lot of books, bringing a lot of books into the house, which I think is something that every parent must and should do. You have to bring books, you have to tell stories, especially the ages from the age of 2 to the age of 10 is a very crucial part of a child's life. Extremely crucial. These are times when the neural network is created in the brain, and say we are born with some 85 billion neurons, and these neurons have to have branches which are created in the brain, and these branches are created when the child is taught something new or looks at something, whether it's colors, whether it's paintings or cubes or blocks or anything else. These are all branches that are created. Later on, after the age of 10, these branches are pruned. As long as you're alive, these branches are only pruned. There's nothing that else happens. And you end up with only just about 40% of what is being created by the time you're 60 or 70. Not because you're 60 or 70, but because this is the actual way it is. And if you want to create, you have to create it right from the beginning. You have to stimulate your child, and the connection is only made up to the age of 10. From the age of 2 up to the age, literally from the age of 1 up to the age of 10. And the graph is such that the maximum number of connections are made the younger the child is. Later on, these connections are made, then used to, to digest and to rationalize the data, talk back, and you have a response. You have, because of this, that happened, because of that, this happens. Till then, the child is simply believing. You're simply absorbing, you're simply learning, you're simply making the connection. This is red, fine. This is blue, that's it. If it's different, whatever it is, this is a tree, it's living, it's a leaf, that's it. I absorb it and then I forget. That's why a child's attention span is about 2 to 3 minutes. And as you grow older, you have a slightly longer attention span. But that's the way it is. That's the way the brain is created. And it's up to us as educators to understand that and to create a system where the child becomes inquisitive.
That's right. And that curiosity should never stop.
That curiosity
should be lifelong curiosity.
Yes. Right. Yes. So that's a attitude that you create. And it starts very young. You can't do this later on. Unless you're somebody like Steve Jobs or somebody who is thrown into college and then runs and leaves college and then does that. There are very few Steve Jobs in the world. They're all bound by a system. And this is the only way that makes the system work. If you can create that thirst for knowledge, that hunger, that curiosity in the child.
And how do you ensure that it is happening in your school?
We give a lot of projects to the children. Projects, we have also an annual show and tell exhibition. Every child has to come up with a project, talk about the project. In multiple things, in multiple ways, we, like the regular competitions. You would have noticed that when a competition happens, you get all excited. You want to beat the person. You want to do that. Or you have healthy competition. So I encourage a lot of competitions within the class, within the section, basically within the section. So the children are excited to be doing this.
And they learn a lot.
And they learn a lot. Yes.
Absolutely. I think that's where one of the topics that we touched about, teachers' creativity, right? Once the technology takes away the manual task out of them, teachers are free to think and they can free to devise and have more engaging classroom.
Yes.
What would be your advice to all our viewers who are watching this with regards to the education sector, those who want to get into education and create an impact like you? Not everybody has the privilege of starting a school. All those who wish to start something and want to create an impact, your words for them.
See, when you start a school, it's an evolution. It's an evolution. It's also a revolution because you have not experienced that. You want to do something, everything is a learning process. Your teachers, you're handling your HR, your finance, everything is a learning process. For a person who wants a school, first you have to have the passion to want to try to teach and to do the right thing. If you have the intention of doing the right thing, if you want to teach for the sake of teaching, the school will do well. Or if your teacher wants to be a teacher for the sake of teaching, the teacher will be a good teacher. If the teacher comes and or if you go in there for the sake of making money only, then you will not become a success as a school. If you go in there with the intention of doing something right, eventually, I wouldn't say eventually, very quickly the success will come. Because you will also be looking for teachers like that, with a passion for teaching.
Great. I am absolutely excited to share with you that Teachmint also runs teachers training modules, which can help teachers bring out the best out of the teachers. And it is continuously a module that runs. And Teachmint's core philosophy is to enable teachers, not to replace them. That is how Teachmint has started. Thank you so much for your time, Mr.
Oh, it's been an absolute pleasure listening to you and learning from Teachmint, and I really wish you all the very best. You're doing a great job, and I think the way you've expanded all over the world, I think there is a huge need for a system like yours, and the fundamentals of what you're doing is really strong, and I think wish you all the very, very best in every single bite of yours.
Great. Thank you so much, Mr. Subbaiah, for your time with us. Thank you so much.